enter your name and where you're zooming in from. That would be fantastic. And just let us know where you're calling in from. And your organization would be great as well. Happy to see you all joining. We have California, hooray. We have Nebraska, we have Vienna, Virginia. And we will get started soon, just a few intro slides as people come in. Really happy you could all join. And for those of you just coming on in, please share your name in the chat, where you're calling from, what organization you work at, just so we can get a sense of who's here. That would be great. We'll get started in just a second here. Sorry, we're running a few minutes late today. Okay, so if everybody can put yourself on mute, since this is not a webinar, it's a meeting. So if everybody can put yourself on mute, that would be fantastic. And I want to welcome you to today's webinar, which is part of NAA's 50th anniversary webinar year. We're very excited, and we have a wonderful workshop for you today, all about inventing tomorrow. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. My name is Judy Browse, and I'm the Executive Director of NAAEE, and really happy to welcome you here today. And for those of you who don't know what Inventing Tomorrow is, we did show the full movie at our conference last year, and it was fantastic. And it's won a number of awards. And what today is going to be is a workshop with our guest speaker to talk about how you can use clips from the movie and some curriculum materials to really engage students in activities like citizen science and exploring issues in their community. And there will be some freebies. And I'll introduce Chris in just a minute, but we're really excited to have Chris with us, who's been teaching for a number of years. Everybody on here who fills out the survey will actually get to pick between two freebies. Either get a Water Insights classroom kit or a set of Foldscope paper microscopes for your classroom or your nonprofit institution. And you'll also get a DVD with the 55-minute and 87-minute version of the movie, which is really exciting. So this is part of our ongoing webinar series, and we are trying to bring new ideas, new thinking, new speakers to the field of environmental education, and we define that very broadly. And we are always looking for ideas of speakers or topics that you would like to see, and we're happy to work with you and see if we can make that happen, because it's all about bringing ideas to all of you. I'd like to thank our affiliate co-hosts for working with us on this webinar series. If you don't know who your affiliate is in your state, region, or province, you can just look it up on our website. And these are wonderful organizations working at the state and provincial level to advance environmental education. And I also want to give a big thank you to EPA and E360 for helping to make this webinar series possible. As I mentioned earlier, some of you might not have been online. We are using Zoom. Please mute your line because this is a meeting, and we'll be able to, hopefully Chris will be able to call on you and interact with you later on. You can use the chat to ask questions. We'll be periodically asking questions at the end, and we'll be recording this session. And please enter any resources that you have in addition to questions in the chat. That'll allow everybody will get a copy of the chat, the presentation, and the recording. So you'll get a chance to, you don't have to take notes, you can see all of this and get a chance to see all of that. We also have live captioning today for anyone who needs help with audio. Thank you, Joe, for being our live captioner. We really appreciate it. And I also want to give a call out to Ann Umali, who is my partner in crime here. Ann is the Director of Professional Development and the manager of the webinar series, and so great to have you, Ann. And Ann will be wrapping things up with us. So with that brief introduction, it really gives me great pleasure to introduce Chris Skowronski, who has been teaching biology and environmental science in the Metro Detroit area for more than 15 years. So we have a seasoned educator. He is currently an instructor at Grosse Pointe North High School, where he has been teaching there for the last 11 years. Chris has also been involved with several community projects, ranging from the Lake St. Clair watershed testing and community outreach to installing a rain garden on the school grounds. And he has helped ensure that Grosse Pointe North High School has been honored as a Michigan Green School for 10 years running. Chris is also involved in a number of charity organizations and initiatives. He's organized 3 5K runs to raise money for the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. He's focused on cancer research and the Greenway Project, which maintains a green space in the area. So we're thrilled to have you, Chris. And I am going to turn it over to you and stop sharing, and you can take us into this workshop. Thanks for being here, Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was amazing hearing all those things. I'm, completely honored to be with you guys. So excited. Welcome to Michigan. I'm about a quarter mile from Lake St. Clair, which is really the 6th Great Lake, and hoping to share with you guys a couple things I've learned throughout this year. And I've always been one for project-based learning and using anchoring phenomenon. So I'm going to try to make this as interactive as we can. And, hopefully you guys are going to be around for 4 hours, I think we have, Judy. No, but we're going to, Judy talked about the freebies that you guys can earn. There's quite a few new interactives that I had a chance to work on with my students over the last school year. New way of looking at the scientific method. So there's some fantastic things that I really hope you guys could take away. And my goal, anytime I do PD, is to be able to use it tomorrow. And these are all really user-friendly things that my students have really enjoyed and taken a few things away from. So just bear with me for one moment. I just have to open up my slides, and then we can get started. My link disappeared. All right, there we go. So everything that we're gonna be talking about today is based on this documentary that came out back a few years ago, and it's called Inventing Tomorrow. And essentially it's about these students that are from 4 different countries around the world, and they have a lot of issues with pollution, soil pollution, air pollution, water quality issues. And the students are in it, they experience it, it's something that their families are going through. And they came up with really innovative ways to deal with the pollution issues and try to make their community a better place. And it's all based on the students going to a science fair that's held every year. 2,000 students come, and basically it's like the Olympics of science fairs. And the lessons that we're going to be talking about, the modules, are going to be based on 2 different student projects, one looking at air quality and one looking at water quality. So the students, there's a group from Indonesia, from Hawaii, India, and Mexico. And again, they're in it. And the great thing is that we can kind of see different perspective from around the world, but students can also capture these ideas and apply it to their own area, wherever they're from, whether it's Virginia, Michigan, Florida, Texas, wherever it happens to be. So how do you see the film? So there's a couple of different ways. First off, there is a film website, inventingtomorrowmovie.com. PBS has an option for watching it. There's American Documentary. Me, myself, I watched it on Amazon Prime. So you have many different options to check it out. It's fantastic. There's so many environmental documentaries out there, and I've seen quite a few. And this is one of the more uplifting ones you'll find, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. So a couple things. So we got the film itself, but also it's been tweaked a little bit in terms of the format. So you can actually watch it as a short film or the full length. And if you notice on the right-hand side right here, the short films actually have some learning modules that go along with it. The website is worldchannel.org. And then there's 4 lesson plans for the full length, and that can be found at pbslearning.media, or excuse me, pbslearningmedia.org. So there's a few different ways you can gain the information. So today we have 2 modules. There's a water module and an air module, following a student that grew up in India and then a group of students that currently live in Mexico. And you can see right here that within each module, there's various lessons and then activities that correspond with it. So basically, what are our goals? What are these resources meant to be? Basically, to get students working together. The greatest challenge this year by far is having students work together when they're physically apart. And even when they're in the classroom, keeping social distance rules has made doing labs a tremendous challenge that I'm trying to navigate the best I can. But also you allow students to observe young scientists at work, students that are the age of the people you see every day. And it's really powerful to see the things that they've come up with and think, hey, they're 16-year-olds, I'm 16 years old, and we can really do some awesome things. Supporting the exploration of local environmental problems and participate in citizen projects as well, which again connects people to their own situations. And then also develop students' ability to think about the Earth as an interconnected system. Everything's connected, everything's connected. That's something I harp on every single day with the kids. All right, so where to find the lessons in film content. So there's a couple of different links. By the way, there's gonna be a PDF available for you at the end of the session, so you'll be able to gain access to all these links as well. NGS, obviously teaching in high school, you have to make sure that you're kind of checking all your boxes and making sure that you're developing the students the best you can. So science and engineering, you know, a lot of it hits developing models, coming up with explanations, designing solutions. In terms of the disciplinary core ideas relating to ecosystem, human impact, the idea of environmental resilience. So it goes through a lot of those with cross-cutting concepts. You got cause and effect, you have system and system modeling, quite a bit with modeling for sure. So let's just kind of take a step back, and my goal is to not talk for an hour and a half. I want to make sure we can have a good dialogue with myself and with everyone from around the country. So basically I want to see how are you guys engaging your students right now, especially with physical distancing and distance learning altogether. So as you guys recall with NGS, there's key components that students really need to learn when they're trying to develop their science skills. So I want you to think of this list. So there's 8 of them all together, and just think to yourself, which ones are you currently using with your current situation? And then which ones are most challenging to address? So based on this list, if you just want to type into the chat, what basically applies to you. So asking questions and defining problems, developing and using models, planning and carrying out investigations, analyzing and interpreting data, using math and computational thinking, constructing explanations and designing solutions, engaging in argument from evidence, obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. So how about you guys take a few minutes, maybe about 2 minutes, and type into the chat, and we'll get a chance to kind of go around and share some thoughts. All right, give you guys maybe about a half minute or so to finish your responses. See some really interesting things in the chat right now. All right, if we want to wrap up our last thoughts. So definitely a good, well-rounded list right here. Seems like quite a few of you guys have had some success, which is awesome. You know, first thing I've learned, and this is something we've really harped on in my building, is just be gentle with yourselves. No one has ever gone through this before in terms of trying to teach on Zoom, keeping social distance. So it's something I really subscribe to every day, that we just want to make the best situation that we can for the students and really try to foster their growth. And certainly in science, but also with their social skills and just with coping skills as well. We've all had so many teachers and students go through some really tough times. So I saw a couple comments saying that, you know, there's still some work to do. And I just think it's really important that we go gentle on ourselves. But I see a lot of asking questions, using models, interpreting data. I did see a comment about planning and carrying out investigations. And the good thing that we're going to go through today is that you're going to get free equipment that you can run investigations just in your classroom, or if the students are at home, they could run it at their house. I saw something about using mathematics, and that's something else too, that when the students collect data, they'll get a chance to look at the data, make sense of it, do some comparison, contrasting. There's a really cool website I'll show you that you can look at data, not just from the United States, but look at China, India, parts of Europe. It's pretty cool stuff. So again, thank you for sharing, everyone. All right, so just to kind of step back a little bit, you know, when we talk about doing science and using the ideas from Inventing Tomorrow, the big thing is an anchoring phenomenon. So basically, what is it? It's something that a person sees that is puzzling to them. It doesn't make sense. It really causes them to scratch their head and think, hey, what is going on? Why is this happening? And it could be something basic, or it could be something that is life-altering. So if you look at the picture, top right, what you see are two people. They're walking on a lake. That is a lake that's covered in vegetation. That is a lake. So what's up with that? Down below, you have the same city, and you have one on a clear, beautiful day, same thing below, but obviously dealing with some pollution issues. So what is causing that? Why would we have severe water pollution in one place? Why would we have severe air pollution in another? So that's the idea of using this anchoring phenomenon to tie it to something that is real for the students. All right. So there's different ways that traditionally, students have done science and group work all together. So in traditional tasks, teacher gives the assignment, the group of 4 breaks up the task, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then each kid works by themselves. They come back together and say, hey, you know, let's put it together. If some kid is slacking, one kid basically, you know, picks up the slack and, you know, turns it in at the end, at the last moment. How valuable is that? That's up for debate. So we want to maybe step away from that and maybe think about something that's group worthy. So instead of traditional, something that's group worthy. So this is a little bit different. You're going to see this modeled in the videos I'm going to share with you, providing opportunities for extension and exploration. So giving kids choice to really explore what they're really passionate about. They're 3-dimensional, so checking all the boxes for NGS, require problem solving, critical thinking. They need every single member. And one thing I've really found with group work is that if all the kids hold their partner's feet to the fire, they're gonna be held accountable, especially if it's something that they're really passionate for. So everyone has a skin in the game. And yeah, that's something that we're gonna look at today. So a couple things, and as I mentioned, one of the best thing about this program is that it's tools that you can use tomorrow in your classroom. So a couple things, there's Jamboard, which is essentially an interactive whiteboard that you can use with people distance learning. Also in the classroom, I've used it multiple times. There's a really cool interactive of how science works, and it's a different way of looking at the scientific method. Also, if you look top right, there's Understanding Global Change. So looking at human impact, natural cycles like water cycle and the rock cycle and things like that, how they interact with each other. And then also a diagram down here that really looks at the connection between water and air pollution and all the different human activities and how one thing impacts another and how you have that chain reaction. So 2 different modules. For the first part of our session, we're going to focus mostly on water. Okay, and then as you see right here, I'm not going to list everything, but you have 5 different lessons altogether. Within each lesson, you have activities. And what's amazing is that the timing is all laid out for you. So essentially each activity, give or take, would be 1 class period. Purpose, in my life, I always need purpose with what I do. So it's fantastic that's laid out. And it looks at it from an exploratory viewpoint. So we can see what's going on with the students in the film, but also relate it to our own personal lives. So like I said, there's 5 different lessons. And then for air module, which we'll touch on a little bit as well, that follows a group of students from Mexico when they're looking at air pollution in their local city. And you have multiple activities as well, and we'll get a chance to touch upon some of those at the same time. So first one, we're looking at lesson 1, and the girl that we're going to follow, she is, I believe, 16 years old in the movie. Her name is Sahiti, and it's looking at her story and the process of science. How do scientists, how do they actually do the scientific method itself? So with the activities, it's investigating the water in your community. So you can see what's going on in her town, but also understand what's going on close to us. Observing how science works, which is pretty powerful, and then looking at the real nature of science. All right, so I have a couple images I'm going to share with you, and I try to be fairly universal. So I have an image right here of a lake in Texas, right outside Austin. It's called Ladyburg Lake. Okay, you can kind of see what's going on there. You have another lake. This is pretty close to me, actually, about an hour or so away from Detroit. This is Toledo, Lake Erie, back in 2014. And then this is right outside of Orlando. It's Lake Dora. And this was from 2016. So a lot of commonality, even though we're talking about vast differences with geography. So what we're going to do right now is a little bit practice with something called a Jamboard. And if you don't mind putting the link into the chat, that'd be fantastic. But I want you to focus on this image right here. So this is right outside of Austin, Texas. And there's a lot going on. There's quite a few things that we can really take away from this. But I just want you to think in the back of your mind, what do you notice with this image? What do you wonder? What does it remind you of? Would you actually drink this stuff? Would you swim in it? Would you fish in it? Would you allow your dog to, go and, do its thing in the water? I want you to think about those things, okay? You'll see this list in a second, so I'll come back to it. But the way that we're gonna really show off our thoughts and really compare and contrast just our different experiences is by using this tool called Jamboard. Jamboard is made by Google. So if you go to your Google Drive and go to create, you'll see Google Slides and Forms and Sheets and all these wonderful things. And then if you go all the way down, and this is something I wasn't even aware a year ago it even existed, you click on Jamboard and it's this interactive whiteboard where hundreds of people can actually interact and share their thoughts at the same time. So I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of how you use it, and then we can go to town. So you can collaborate, you can share your work, you can put pictures on there, share links and that kind of thing. Okay, so just a little bit of an overview of what it looks like. Okay, and then on the side, on the left-hand side there, there's different tools that are available. Top, you have a pen, so if you want to write something, if you don't like what you wrote and you want to erase it, there's an eraser. If you click on select, it allows you to move different images from one place to another. There's a sticky note. So that's the 4th one down. That's the one you're going to be using today. You can add pictures, shapes, a text box. You can use a laser if that's something that's interesting for you. So you have a whole bunch of different options here. But we're going to focus just on using the sticky. So this is how I set it up here. So at the top, it's investigating water in our community. And I want you to make your ideas public using the space. So you're gonna use your sticky and look at these 4 different things. Just remember there's nothing wrong. So just throw your thoughts out there. And that's something I say to my students all the time. And something to just kind of like backstory. When I'm doing PD, I like to think of it from the teacher perspective, but also the student perspective. So this is something that you can put your student hat on right now and just kind of see it through their eyes. So no wrong answers. And then if you see a sticky that's similar to yours, maybe just put them right next to each other. And that way we can see some commonality. All right. So you click on the sticky, and first thing that's obvious, water is green. Okay, it looks very strange, probably not a good thing. So that would just be a really obvious thing that people would check out. So you click on sticky, you type in what you want. You can change the color too. So if you want to make it pink, go for it. Green is cool too, whichever you want. So type in what you want. And then from there, you click save and it puts it on the Jamboard itself, but you don't leave the sticky note area. So click on cancel to basically back away, and you'll see something like this. And then you click on your sticky and you can put it in whichever box is appropriate. So the water is green, and then you're just going to move it into, in this case, what do you notice about the image? Okay, so let's take, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 minutes to check this out and have some fun with this. Hopefully this is something new for you, but if not, it's definitely a good way to engage with new content. Okay. And then Anne, I believe, put the link into the chat. So if you want to click on that link, it'll take you right there, and we'll compare notes in a little bit.
And Chris, you want folks to use both Jamboards? I see you've got people divided up by their last names. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. So there's 2 different slides, and I'm looking with our attendance. We could probably fit them all in one. But I think just to space them out, if your last name starts with an A through L, if you want to put it on slide 1 or frame 1 rather, and then for frame 2, if your last name starts with an M all the way to Z, it just helps with the spacing. So for what that's worth. Thanks, Anne.
Thanks.
All right, give you about a minute to wrap things up. All right, if you want to finish your last thought, you can kind of go through and compare notes here. So I'm looking at the first frame. So what do you notice? So green and red. Looks like cyanobacteria. I like that, using some really complex language. Aquatic plants, okay, different colors. What do you wonder? Is this because of fertilizer contamination? Is this caused by temperature increase? Fantastic question. Let's see, what causes different colors? What creatures would actually survive in that? Fantastic. My background is actually in zoology, and studying macroinvertebrates has always been a passion of mine. So that'd be really interesting to check out. What does this remind you of? A lot of like take home messages. So let's see, it reminds of algal bloom, oil slick, kind of like a parallel universe version of Banff National Park. I've seen pictures of Banff. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to swim in this particular lake. It reminds me of a lake in my hometown. Always impactful when you can make that connection to your own experiences. And then would you swim in it? Would you drink it? Would you let your dog hang out in the water? I think the consensus is probably not. I think someone on the second frame said, if I had a filter and if I could basically check out the middle part of the lake, I'd be okay with that. So you're a little bit more brave than I am, I guess. But yeah, you see how fast this happens. So we can share all these thoughts in, what, 4 or 5 minutes, go through. I know back in the day, when I was in educational school, you could do something with actual sticky notes and go up to the actual board and stick it on there. And you're talking about a 20-minute activity. Here's something you can do, boom, boom, boom. And I do this in my classroom. All students actually do bring their own devices, which is fantastic. But also when I was teaching on Zoom for a semester, I would use this a good amount of time as well. So I appreciate everyone sharing out for that. All right, so that's really the first activity. So thinking of Sahiti, this girl from India, trying to make sense of what she would see versus what we would see here in the United States. All right, so this is just a good contrasting picture, I feel. So this picture again is from Austin, Texas. And then on the right-hand side, this is Sahiti right here. And this is the lake in her hometown of Bangalore, India. And this is a lake. So again, she's standing on the lake and it's just so overgrown with plant matter. It's just something that's unbelievable that's even possible. So I'm going to show a couple clips in a second that follow her story of her motivation, her process, and then how she actually took her idea and tried to make it global, which is just amazing. So a couple things though, before I share the clips, big questions. In general, how can science help us to explain and respond to what's happening into our water? What are the parts of the process of science? What are the parts of the process of science? And then how can science help us to explain and respond to what's happening? So how about if you guys want to type that into the chat, we can go through and kind of compare and contrast some ideas with that. Again, no wrong answers, just do the best you can. And we'll compare notes in about 2 minutes. All right. So again, as you guys compile your thoughts, if you don't mind putting it into the chat so we can kind of compare and contrast where everyone's at with these thoughts. All right, so just a couple things. First one, use water quality tests. Good news, guys, you're going to get free water quality tests by doing this session. So that will be coming to your house very soon. So even if you don't have the equipment right now in your classroom, you can gain access to that. So you can test the water and compare the results, which is fantastic. And certainly look at, is it safe to drink? Is it safe to swim? There's obviously a gradient for that. Let's see, science can help us identify variables in and out of our control. Okay, so that's definitely important to keep in mind. In regard to water quality, and then allow us to take corrective actions. You're going to see that in the video and make it better for everyone. Which sounds fantastic. That's definitely a world I want to live in. Science can help us understand underlying causes and issues with our water. Make sure we observe, ask questions, investigate, share. I love it. Use science to analyze current water conditions, surrounding factors on basically what are the land use, how are people using the water, what's going on with the climate. I love it. Fantastic stuff, guys. How can we run tests? Okay. Knowledge is power. Absolutely. Science shows us the story of our reality from data collection to communication. Okay. We'll definitely talk about that in a little bit. Instead of just assuming possible answers, we could use inquiry. Oh, I love inquiry. Fantastic. Inquiry, investigation, analyze. Okay, that sounds like NGS if you ask me. Make observations, generate research questions. Okay, posing and testing solutions. Scientific method, we're going to talk about that in one moment. Looking at variables, looking at pollution. All right, fantastic. So thanks everyone for sharing. And this is kind of like a game changer for me. So when we think about doing science, this is what we all learned back in elementary school. And my guess is that this is how most of us have actually taught science most of our career, myself included, really up until this year. And it's comforting. It's really comforting. So the traditional scientific method, ask a question, what's your guess? Do the experiment, collect the data, come up with a conclusion, and then you're done and you worry about something else. That's not necessarily how science always works. It could be good, but sometimes it's just a little too simple. So this is a little bit more detailed diagram of how scientists maybe could operate, or maybe they should operate. So it all comes from an idea. It comes from some type of investigation, some type of discovery, that aha moment, that anchoring phenomenon. People look at the water and think, hey, why is it green? Why is it red? And why is it clear in the center? Like, that is very, very bizarre. So having that moment of discovery is so critical. And then from there, notice that there's an interaction between that and testing ideas. So you're trying things, you're just going for it and seeing if it works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And then looking at the benefits. So when you're doing science, hopefully someone has a better circumstance because of that. That someone is doing better, having some type of outcome that you prefer. Talking with the community that was mentioned in the chat, getting feedback. And then once you go through all those different steps, and then kind of reverse it and go the other way. So after you get feedback, maybe you did something wrong, go back and fix it, test it again. Come up with that new discovery and think, oh man, I didn't think of it this way. I'm going to go back and run it through that third time. And always come back to the benefits of, why are we doing this? What is the important piece? I'm a big why guy. I always want to know, why should we do things? All right, so even from there, so this is kind of like a general overview. And what's beautiful is that when you break down each of the bubbles, there's more. So for this right here, you have exploring and discovery. So you have all these different things that go into these two concepts. So just being curious. How do you teach curiosity? You give students as many anchoring phenomena as you can. Just show them a crazy video of, you know, a bald eagle doing a death spiral, or show them a picture of this water. There's so many different things you can do. Come up with something practical, making those observations. Sometimes it's just pure chance. There's so many stories in science where some of the biggest discoveries in human history were because of serendipity. So we cannot discount that. Doing your readings, sharing data, looking at ideas. When we look at testing ideas itself, you know, trying to come up with an explanation, gathering that data. I always tell the kids, you can look at anything, there's always data. There's numbers around us, you got to go and find them. Interpreting observations, revising what I thought was true, but I was wrong, so I got to go back and make more observations. And then this is the communication piece. getting that feedback. And sometimes we have to be humble enough to think, okay, I did it wrong. I got to fix it and go back and do it correctly. Listening to classmates, interacting with classmates, repeating the investigation, which to be honest, sometimes can be a challenge in a high school setting because you have to hit all these different concepts, and to have the time to run through an investigation multiple times, I get it, that could be a big time problem, but to do real science, that's so critical. And then coming up with a new question, a new idea. Benefits and outcomes, you always want to learn more. Sometimes people do science just for science sake, and you want to satisfy that curiosity. You never know what you're going to come up with, and you never know the benefits that are going to come from a certain investigation. So I always say that we should just try to learn more about everything. You want to answer those questions. You want to solve everyday problems. All right, so to get to a little bit of the film, so there's about a 10-minute clip in here I want to share with you guys from Inventing Tomorrow. And it follows the scientist. Her name is Sahiti. And you get to see kind of like her whole story unveil and how did she come up with her process. So let's check it out.
Bangalore was once known as the city of 1,000 lakes, but now it's known as the Silicon Valley of India, and now there's only around 93 lakes. The sad thing is, as more people started moving here, the lack of infrastructure is definitely a problem. Where is the lake? Oh my God. You can't even tell there's a lake. It's so overgrown with weeds, which is a really bad sign, because when you have this many weeds, it's a sign of something called eutrophication, which is so much nutrient sewage contamination that all these plants start growing and they block the light to the lower layers of the lake. Basically just kills everything that lives in the water, and you have a dead lake. We went to all the 6 I normally go to. The fire and foam are what really got people interested in the lakes and got a lot of people to start working on them. The sewage that causes this foam mainly comes from apartments. So you can see there's a lot of buildings around here, and they release raw sewage into the lake. A lot of the detergents and stuff that people use contain really high levels of phosphates. And all that chemical waste does go untreated. You see, Bangalore will be a dead city in another 25 years because of water alone.
Welcome to ISEF International Science and Engineering Fair. How many of you are here competing for the very first time? Wow.
When the students come, they've already gone through a series of competitions to get to the level of ISEF. And students who really want to advance know they have to do original research. This is the science fair of science fairs.
I started more on the activism side, but I found it really hard to get the kind of data I needed regarding what pollution exactly is happening, which is why I got into science. Before ISEF, I've had to cram a lot of research into very little time. For me, ISEF is just the beginning. I know that would be a great motivator to make sure I was growing my project. So I wanted to mainly achieve 2 things. One is make water testing easy, and 2, make the results accessible to people and easy to analyze. So I built my app. It uses electronic sensors and chemical test strips to let you test several parameters of a lake sample. Here I have some water from Devar Bisnali Lake. So I put the probe in the water and all the values from the probe will be sent via Bluetooth to my phone. Okay, so now there's the chemical test strips. You can see the strip has changed color. So you can use the color recognition part of my app. Once I've also done the testing with the chemical test strips, all the data will be on a single form and that will be sent to the cloud platform. Bangalore was once known as the city of 1,000.
All right, so what you just saw is just a snippet of Inventing Tomorrow. So there's actually a little bit more. So it does kind of like skip around a little bit. So you see her doing the research, gathering data, talk about her process. Next, you get to see kind of like the second part of it. So just bear with me.
In lakes.
Okay, so this is the second piece right here.
What's your project? It's about?
It's on water monitoring. Like you can see, we have these super polluted lakes in Bangalore. What about you? What's your project on?
My country, especially my island, have some problems in tin mining industry, and this season could, find the heavy metal ions.
Oh yeah, like you, this all this heavy metal pollution, this pollution, that pollution. But the problem is, in a lot of these water bodies, we don't know what pollution is there. So before you can try to remediate it, you need to find what pollution is there, right?
Okay.
We could combine our projects. I could detect it and you could cure it.
Yeah!
Just go with your passions and start there, and then you can develop a project based on what you like.
How do you get this to a point? How do you build your community? How do you produce
I've been
locally?
working with some schools.
Yeah.
I've started with students just because the environmental education.
Is this your own school?
Yeah, my own school and a couple nearby.
Have you spoken to some people in the government or like
Not the
water
government.
authorities
I've
or-
spoken to some non-profits, planning to get to the government eventually.
Yeah, I think one trick it's counterintuitive is the more you pass the ownership of this to other bodies, the more sustainable this will be.
Yeah.
Because if it's just you will find it's hard. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like just based on the chat that you guys enjoyed a few things. So right now, I want to give you a chance to just kind of discuss with your peers a few thoughts. So I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms. Looks like we have currently 30 participants. So I'll do 6. I think 6 would be a good number. And when you're in the breakout room, it will give you a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're actually going to go back to the Jamboard, and there's going to be a slide that corresponds with your group. So if you're group 1, you'll see top right corner, or top left rather, group 1. And then I want you to look at a few different parts here. So identify what parts of the process of science that Sahidi actually engaged with. Use the stickies for that. And then connect the steps with arrows. So don't worry if you get out of order, just do the best you can. And then do remember too that within our modeling science flow chart right here, there's a little bit more detailed analysis. So within testing ideas, community analysis, within exploration, and within outcomes, try to be as detailed as you can with what you saw. All right, so if you guys want to open that Jamboard once again, and I will put you guys in the chat. Let's do about 5 minutes. I think that should be sufficient. And we'll come on back and compare notes.
Chris, would you like me to set up those breakout rooms?
I can actually do that. Let's see. All right, I'll see you guys back in about 5 minutes. Sorry for the slow start, Ian. That email address was just driving me crazy.
That's all good. I think we only started like two or 3 minutes late, and I was sending people notes in the chat, so they were fine.
Okay. Yeah. And when I did the session for, I believe it was Fort Myers School, it was kind of like the same thing, about 4 or 5 minutes late. And I was freaking out. I'm like, why is this not opening? And yeah, you know, I'm on a computer from school right now. So the SSO is only for the district. So I was like freaking out. I'm thinking like, man, you know, I can't go home. I'm like 10 minutes from my house. And I called Gary. It's like, you got to figure it out, man. So I actually used his account and it was able to work out.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure what was happening because Colette joined and others joined. I'm like, oh no, what happened? Hi, Colette. I think it's
Hey,
going
you guys.
so far.
I think it's going great. Hi, Chris. We haven't met yet. I work with Dennis Palmyra. I work with Laura Nix at Felt Films, Laura who directed the film. So.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet Always nice to meet a fellow Michigander as well.
Oh, nice. What city are you from?
I was born in Flint and grew up in Rochester.
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice. Where are you located now?
I'm in Northern California right now, but I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, nice. How's the air quality now? All right, looks like we have everyone back. So I see some fantastic ideas here. And again, this is the benefits of using Jamboard. I said before, you can use this tomorrow. It takes maybe 5 minutes to set it up. You share the link and the kids can just go to town. And sometimes they enjoy it a little bit too much, go through and doodle their thoughts and whatnot. And for the record, you can delete other people's thoughts. So I do preempt them. You never want to be that student that does it on accident or on purpose. But just to kind of sum up though, what we see with the different groups, I mean, with Sahidi and her ideas, I mean, she checks all the boxes. I mean, she really does. And it all goes back to something that she observed, something that she experienced, and it was important for her. And that's so key in science, that it has to be important for them. If they don't care about it, they're not going to do it, or it's going to be done halfway. So it's got to be something that they're really passionate about. So when you're designing your lessons, I always try to have an element of choice, and I encourage you to do that as well. There's always options that they can have to really explore their own experiences. All right, so looks good. So thank you again for sharing that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the main presentation, and we have a few more activities, and I do want to talk a little bit about the freebies as well that you guys may be able to get in the next few weeks here. So just one thing about the diagram that you just saw, that was actually a copy and pasted image from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. And the interactive is actually this thing called How Science Works. So you see all the bubbles with all the descriptors you just saw. But what's really cool is that when students go through, they can actually click on one of the bubbles and actually type in, okay, what was their curiosity? What was their observation? What was their hypothesis, their data, and things like that. And if you look over on the left side, they can actually reorder what they have. They can save it, they can share it with friends, they can send it over as a PDF. It's something I've had students do, and it's really good for them organizing their thoughts and try to make tweaks when they're working with a partner. All right, so freebies. So when the students, I know everyone's gonna run out and do their water testing when they get these kits. What do you do with it? So I'm going to show you in a second. Sahidi actually designed this herself, and she actually came up with a little test indicator strip. There's 6 water quality measures on it, 6 different metrics. You have nitrates, nitrites, water hardness, chlorine, alkalinity, and pH on one strip, and it's free, which is awesome. Way back in the day when I first started to do water testing with my students, you needed suitcases of material that weighed probably about 20 pounds each just to do dissolved oxygen or pH or nitrates. Here you have one single strip that weighs, less than a penny, and you can carry out to the field, or you can use it to test your tap water. There's so many really cool applications of it. So once you get your data, you click on submit after you go to this Water Insights website. A little bit of a visual of what it looks like. So sent to you if you decide to sign up for it. I believe there's about 30 or maybe 40 test strips altogether, and it comes with these nice cards where in the presence of the water, it's going to change color, and the students can look at the wide range of different values that either their lake or river or their tap water would have in terms of the different metrics. And then from there, this is something that Sahidi really wanted to start, where you're not just looking at your data or your friends, but you're looking globally. So you can actually click on where you are geographically, and then type in your observations, and then include your data in terms of nitrates, nitrites, hardness, chlorine, those types of things. And let's see, if you actually click on water data, it gives you a map of the world. And notice here, the United States, we're well represented with our data, but you can look at Mexico, you can look at India, you can look at China, and really compare and contrast what are their streams looking like, what's their water quality like, and it makes it a little bit more real, especially with us living in a global society. All right, so just to step back for a second, that kind of concludes our part looking at the water module. I know we don't have a huge amount of time, but I want to take a few minutes and look at the air module as well. And this is where we're following students that are from Monterrey, Mexico, and they're experiencing horrible air quality. And these kids decide, hey, I'm gonna do something about it. I don't wanna live in a city with this type of air quality. So what's a solution that they have the power to actually control? All right, so again, you have a module looking at air quality, and then from there you have the different lessons. Within each lesson, you have the different activities. So we'll get a little taste of how you do some of these activities. First off, I just have a short little clip looking at the story of these three boys, and we'll be able to talk on the other side.
Ahí en la preparatoria, cuando tomamos el camión, nosotros vemos que te dan el flechazo de smog, de diésel quemado.
En Monterrey hay muchos problemas con la contaminación del aire, pero otra de las cosas que más me marcó fue cuando uno de mis tíos murió a causa de una enfermedad respiratoria.
Monterrey es una de las ciudades con más industrias en México. Hay demasiada actividad industrial y pues simplemente no se puede parar. Lo que nosotros buscamos resolver fue el decrecimiento de contaminantes más fuertes que hay en el aire.
Aquí está.
Se regulan un poco, más o menos unos 30.
Nuestra hipótesis fue que por medio de una pintura fotocatalítica se pudieran decrecimiento de los dos contaminantes, NO2 y SO2.
Dióxido de titanio se utiliza normalmente en las pinturas, pero nosotros le agregamos estas propiedades fotocatalíticas.
Es algo equivalente a sembrar árboles. Vamos a sembrar árboles para eliminar un contaminante que es el CO2. Bueno, pues vamos a pintar muchas casas para que actúen también como arbolitos que están eliminando la contaminación.
Exacto, si no podemos detener las actividades industriales, al menos podemos dar alternativas para poder ayudar al ambiente.
All right, so that's the first clip. And remember, this is not the entire feature film. This is broken into different snippets. So a little bit about their story, and then the next piece, they're at the science fair sharing their thoughts.
Do you speak Spanish?
They do? They speak Spanish? I don't, but they do. How many of you speak Spanish?
¡Excelente! Lo que hace la pintura es de que cuando está en contacto con el sol se llevan a cabo varias reacciones y los gases contaminantes que hay en el aire se transforman en productos no dañinos. O sea, estamos ayudando al ambiente con esta pintura.
Se trata de cambio cultural, pero pues está en nosotros mismos, nosotros los jóvenes, que ustedes también, lleguen a fondo a la ciencia y se interesen y pues esto puede ser un gran cambio.
All right, so just a couple things that really struck me watching this piece. Excitement and just the ability to connect. I don't think you need a translator to do that. You could just tell these kids they're in it, they love it, they love what they're doing. It's just such an uplifting thing. And, you know, even though this movie's a few years old and we're a world away, you can still feel their energy. I think that's so powerful. And something else too, just to kind of step back. I was watching the documentary and my daughter, she's 6 years old, she walked into the room and she was noticing Saidi and she was just zoomed in. Like, it was so cool for her to see a female scientist, someone that was relatively young. And, you know, that's not typical. You know, there's kind of like a stereotypical scientist and we all know what that person looks like. And it's really powerful to see people from all different backgrounds to really go through the entire process to investigate solutions. So the next activity that we're going to do is going to look at systems thinking. And this is obviously focused on pollution within the air, focusing on smog. So we saw a little bit of the air quality in Monterrey, Mexico. And, you know, the boys, obviously, they're not going to change the industry overnight, but what could they do in the short term? So they developed this fantastic paint that can actually take some of these toxins out of the air. So you'll have about 5 minutes to use this interactive. This one's fantastic. I think all the tools are really good, but this one's fantastic because it really gives you an idea of the entire ecosystem and how one thing impacts another and how there's all these different chain reactions that occur around us. So it looks something like this, and this is called global change. So on the left-hand side, you see all the different human impacts. So you have burning fossil fuels and urbanization, and then you have natural impacts, so like the greenhouse effect, and then just general factors to keep in mind. So you have airborne particles, air quality, temperature, health, and then the actual diagram itself is our society, it's our landscape. So even though it's just one small snippet, this could be the entire planet Earth, or it could be one person's city, their state, their country, whatever perspective that you want. So you got the factory and roads and buildings, so you have the farm, natural areas, you got the entire watershed, all those types of things. So again, you'll have 5 minutes to construct a model using the different icons on the left. And you can use the arrows, you can use words to explain how those different things go together and how they relate to air pollution. So again, you can use all those different tools. If you notice, at the very top on the left, we're still going to go with the same groups, just because with 30 people putting their thoughts together in one frame, it would just be very overwhelming. So I invite you guys, if you want to go back to your Jamboard and just go to the next set of slides, you should be able to see group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll take about 5 minutes and then we'll compare notes in a little bit. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Together, and you know, if there's one thing that we've learned from the last 14 months, what one person does in one part of the world impacts all of us. Everything's connected, and this is just a great visual to look at some of these really key factors. So I'm looking at group 2 right here. I love the artistic impression, looking at the bird. So that's something that the kids will do when they finish early. They can add, you know, a little pizzazz to it, so I appreciate that. But it seems like there's definitely a logic to it, and I would have students go through and kind of explain the rationale and then contrast each other going from one group to another. So it looks like there's a lot of commonality. I see a lot of air temperature and health issues going hand in hand. Obviously, the airborne particles and health going hand in hand. So we have to think too, what's the root cause, and then how do we fix it? And that was a great thing about the teenagers from Mexico, is they had a solution that hopefully you can find at Home Depot sometime soon. I don't think it's for sale yet, but the technology is there, and if they could mass produce it, that's gonna be fantastic for any major city. All right, so just a few slides left. To be honest, we're running low on time. So I'm just going to show you the last little thing. And then from there, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, we can address that at the end. So there's one more interactive, and this is actually found on the Howard Hughes Medical Institute's website. And it's looking at the causes of global change. And when I see this, I think very much like earth science. So if you teach earth science, this would apply. I teach environmental science, obviously. It applies as well, but it looks at the different spheres that we have on planet Earth: atmosphere, biosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, and basically how do things work naturally. And then, oh, by the way, we've had some impacts as well, people. So what are we doing, and how the different systems go back and forth. And it's a way for students to essentially take the same labels you just saw, urbanization, particulate matter, and that kind of thing, and put it into this diagram to be able to interact with it. So yeah, just to kind of sum up, when we're talking about understanding global change, you have the causes of change, you have the Earth system, you have measurable changes, and lastly, the Earth system and measurable changes are also divided into the 4 different spheres, as I mentioned. So this is kind of what I was talking about, like the end product that the students would come up with, where they can kind of see the sphere of influence, for lack of better words, and how things all connect together. So just a different way of looking at it than just the Jamboard. Okay, and then another interactive here, and again, this is also found on the Howard Hughes website. This one is super detailed, so you could really go to town and check this out. I teach AP Environmental Science, and this is something that definitely is high quality, and you could definitely coach up the younger students as well in using this. But it's looking at all these different factors that we just saw and just taking it up about 5 notches. Everything's connected, and it's just a great visual to do this. Okay, and then in terms of what we went through, so again, we have the water module, we have the air module, there's all those different lessons that we saw, and you got a little taste of it. There's obviously more to learn, and hopefully you found that within the time that we've had, it's been valuable. I've really appreciated the time. It is my honor, and anything I can do to share out some of the things I've done. So, if you want to type in the chat one thing you learned or liked or maybe did not like, I have pretty thick skin, so hopefully not too many things. But if there's something you want to share out, that'd be fantastic. And then also, if you have any questions, I'll be hanging out for a little bit so we can chat if you like as well. But again, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I know we're all busy. We're exhausted. It's been a long school year, so I really appreciate your time.
Chris, thank you so much. That was so fantastic. Some people had never used a Jamboard. Some people really like the interactives that you can get on the HHMI website. Just loads of information. And just a reminder that everybody will get a copy of everything, but you need to fill out the survey in order to sign up for the freebies. And Anne, anything else you'd like to add as we close out here?
Just keep an eye on your email inboxes. I'm going to be sending everyone a link to this recording as a YouTube recording on our YouTube channel. You'll all get a PDF of Chris's beautiful slides, and you'll also get a copy of the chat notes, so you've got everybody's comments, and look for that in your inboxes tomorrow. They'll also be on our website, the same EE Pro page that went to when you registered for today's webinar. Everything will be up there as well, so you can keep sharing it out with your colleagues and others in your network. But really wonderful session today, Chris. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Again, if you guys want to hang for a little bit, if you want to chat, or if you have questions, I'd love to talk to you guys.
Thanks, Chris. And let's give them all a virtual applause. You can even unmute and clap. Thank you, Chris.
There, nice.
I appreciate it.
Do you want to stop sharing, and then we can just see if anybody has any additional questions before we leave?
Lots of great comments in the chat, Chris.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and to be honest, I can't take credit for the Jamboard slides. There's a professor from University of California out of Berkeley, Jessica Bean. She created all these activities. So I'm just the messenger. And just trying to use the tools the best I can. And I'm not going to claim I'm an expert on any of this stuff, but things I found to be successful with my experience this past semester.
Thank you so much, Chris. I have to jump off on another, can't wait, another Zoom call. But thank you so much, Colette. Thank you, Anne. Thank you. And to all of you, really great to see you. And hang out if you want to ask Chris some more. Anne will still be here. Thanks so much, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.